It is day 91 of 365 days of remembering. Trina Wright here. And the call that I feel today is to just stand before you as raw and real, authentic and transparent as I can possibly be in this moment. With all the events that have been happening, I'm sure that you're in this with me. I've been doing a lot of reflecting, being very attuned and thoughtful around just all of it, my spiritual journey, where I sit, what it means to me to be spiritually conscious, and looking back over my own journey since January. And I encourage you to do this, to take a chunk of time and sit with yourself about it. I had some interesting things arise that are sort of hard to talk about. So since I started doing these sharings in January, and my only intention was to flow, to let Source use me and flow through me, which is a beautiful sentiment. I love it. And I definitely have demonstrated to myself my ability to do that. But I also think that there's something missing in that. I think there's a little piece of this puzzle, because it's poignant and beautiful to be empty and to download and to be in that sort of flow of being an empty vessel and letting Source or God use me as a channel. Absolutely. And yet at the same time, I'm still here with my feet on the ground, with my physical feet on the physical ground, experiencing this illusion to some degree, as if it matters, as if it's real. And that's that other component of my beingness that I feel like in some ways I don't really share as easily. You know, I want to be as much as I can be in alignment. I want to be as much as I can be that picture of, I think, what I have come to believe it means to be spiritually evolved or spiritually evolving. And yet I don't want to negate and diminish an entire other component of my whole beingness. And I'm not saying I've done that, but I'm saying I could see how I could do that. And I want to be clean and clear. And part of the being in the remembering process and seeing my day-to-day realizations is when I see something, I want to call myself on it. And so I'm calling myself out to say, why is it that I don't want to share when maybe my highest point in the moment is my highest point in the moment, but it's not as high as I would like it to be, or it's not awesome and epic. And I think we all have that, right? We all have that. We all have those moments where we just feel like I'm doing the best I can, and I got triggered, and the trigger took me somewhere. And always, 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 to the very best of my ability in any given moment, I sink in, I deep breathe, I take a deep breath, turn my focus back to myself and look at the trigger so that I can sit with it and see. But that is part of the process. And I in no way would want anyone to think, based on watching my history of videos, that there's anything wrong with that, that we're not all on a journey. And so in this little discovery as myself, and I want to use this as an example for everyone else, as just what is possible and plausible, I discovered that I have this spiritual shame sort of around moments that I'm not 100% flowing, or I'm not, maybe I totally even forgot, I'm not even looking in the direction of Source. I've just kind of stepped away from that. And I noticed that I have this part of me that is just so hard on myself about that I have really crafted and created a vision of what it means to be spiritual that doesn't really leave a lot of room for me to flow and to be, in the sense of, like, I came here as a person. And I think part of the journey here, I do believe, is to get our person through this evolution process. And our person is multifaceted in and of itself, not even just multidimensional, but multifaceted in terms of, like, emotions and feelings and desires and attachments and this personality, which, yes, largely was created by some conditioning that maybe I didn't have control over, but now I do. I'm conscious. And so now I get to take the reins back to some degree and be with my character and love her just because I can. And I do love her because she came to this path. She came to this journey. She agreed to be part of this compilation of experience that was going to happen for this shard of God, for this soul space. And I invite you to do the same thing, that to honor that, to honor our choosing to come here, and to recognize that it's not always easy. That it's easy to know who we are, in the sense of when it's there and it's clicked, it's easy. But when we can't see it, it's hard to see it. It's a funny little thing like that. It doesn't get harder because our inner being has gone from us or the flow has stopped. It just gets harder because we don't have access to it, because we're caught up in the mind, or we're caught up in the ego, or we're caught up in the thoughts. And that is part of the journey. That's part of waking up as a human every single day. And so I think I really had it as a spiritual being, and then I amplified it into this idea of wanting to teach other people in some way meant that I had to have it all figured out. And in actual fact, over the last few days, I realized that there is no figuring it out. It's like a feeling thing. It's like a resonance thing. It's like, what would it be like if I never needed to understand again why? Like if I just accepted everything that feels right as right until it doesn't feel right, and then accept the next thing that feels right, and not have to put so much effort in and so much work in it, and not be so hard on myself about it. And I suspect that this is probably something that many of us face and many of us are working on. And I'm still in the process of it. It's still a becoming, but I just wanted to share from this place of like having tremendous compassion for myself, because I realized that since a short time after the death of my husband, at which time I made some choices that I would look back and would have said, I regretted some of those choices. I don't regret them now, but shortly after, and for a long time thereafter, I did hold some regret. I didn't think it was like the spiritual way to have handled it. I didn't think it was the highest strategies that I could have used. And I even had some shame about it. And now I realize that I couldn't be where I am right now if I hadn't have been all those other versions of myself, if I hadn't have had all those other experiences. And not only that, but you can't know what you don't know. So in the moment when we're being called to something, especially something that is traumatic, like the death of a spouse, the death of a loved one, we can really just only do what we can do, the best to our ability in that moment. And if we look back at it from now where we sit, it's hard, because when we look back at it, it seems like we should have done better, because now we know better, because we've had all this time and this perspective. But when you're in it, you don't have that. And so it's with that sense of compassion that I just want to hold her and just soothe her and just be okay with it, with every version of myself. I just want to see every potential past version of me and just love them intoxicatingly, deliriously, like literally bow at their feet, bow at her feet, because she did the best she could. And she was the bridge that got me to this beautiful potential, this beautiful beingness that I am now, which someday from a higher, another place, I might look back and say, why did that Trina decide all those things? And yet that's the evolution. That is the remembering. That's what we're all doing. And so to have this compassion. The other thing that became clear to me in all transparency is that I have negated emotions and feelings to some degree. And I don't think in a way that was bypassing at all. I think that I have a very detached way of being, but I also think there's some juice that I have chosen not to drink, sort of this yummy nectar of life, by not allowing myself to play all those notes in the symphony, or to use all those colors in my pictures. And so I want to do that again. I think feeling deep, 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 intimate love, looking at my child and just feeling this immense appreciation for their beingness is beautiful. And it's part of why we came, and it's part of what we came to experience. And I don't want to negate that. I don't want to not see it as part of the fullness of all that I am, and that flowing, and to be integrated. I want it to be integrated. I want my feelings and my emotions and my soul to play together, as I said, in this beautiful symphony of experience, without negating any of the octaves, like just seeing every one of them as in perfect, not only resonance, but concert. So that the music that plays in every moment is absolutely perfect, because it is, and just in being makes it perfect. And it's always, if you think about it, it's mostly, sometimes in a traumatic experience in the moment, we can feel that extreme offness, but it's almost always after the fact when we reflect back on it and we look back at it I want my life to read like a beautiful poem, and I want to blend in a Zen-like poem with a passionate, epic, juicy, feeling-filled, heart-filled, love-based poem with a quick little tagline. All of it. I just want all of it, and I want to feel all of that deeply. And so right now I am in a contemplative state of discovery with myself to see what it is that wants to come back, what wants to be birthed more through me as the epitome of all of the experience of what it means to be here as a shard of God in a physical body, as a physical being, as a human with an identity and with a story and multiple stories, and with the freedom to choose what story she wants to tell. Because as I was saying, it's almost always the stories that we tell that give us the most grief. If we just had compassion and loved ourselves and saw the perfection of everything in it and after it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to have self-compassion. And when I feel any twinge of anything less than what I've judged to be spiritual, which is ridiculous in and of itself, and I see that now in myself or anyone else, I'm just going to be okay with that. I'm just going to say, you know what? That's okay. And that is true. Every potential possibility of what it means to be spiritual is equally valid and true. Thank you for reminding me of the highest place that I want to reach to. And when I notice if I'm not there, thank you for that too, because it means that I'm still on the path. I'm still being pulled forward into the highest, most expanded version of myself, which is all that I ever wanted, all that I ever desire to have and experience here on this path. But I am from this day forward committed to feeling my heart space, feeling into it, sharing whatever it is that wants to be shared, not filtering it, not thinking one thing is, even though I'm not, because it's so strange. I mean, I open and it flows, yet I still know that I have this cap on the flow because I had a picture of what it was supposed to look like. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I just want to be full and integrated. And I want to document for myself and my family and anyone else that cares or wants to watch the process of integrating fully the source inner being aspect of myself into the physicality aspect of myself. And I believe the heart has to be part of it. The feelings and emotions have to be part of it. And anyway, I want to get back into that. I want to play in that. I want to listen to music and feel it move me to the depth of my soul. And it's not that it's not that I haven't been doing that. It's just, I maybe haven't been honoring those experiences as much as I have things like meditation and being in awareness. And I just don't want there to be a hierarchy in my life anymore. I want to value all the components of what I came here to experience into the depth of my full beingness. So I hope that some of that made sense. It was interesting to share from this perspective and to really stand in my own transparency. It's fabulous when I'm swirling in my beingness. It's fabulous when I have a moment that just takes me to some knowing. And it's okay to notice when I am judging myself or judging someone else. All of it is okay. And I so appreciate that I have this awareness. I so appreciate that I'm willing to do an exploration like this with myself. So if you liked this video, then, which is funny, then click the like button. And if you enjoy being on this journey with me, if you too are in a place where you want to be more blended, you want to feel into it, understand it, make sense of it, attune to it, and be all that you can be, all that you are, in as many moments as you can, which doesn't just mean blissed out and flowing the highest parts. That's a huge part of it. But it also means playing in the shades that live in between all of that. Honoring the personness, honoring the sourceness, honoring the way they come together and alchemize to make whatever it is that shows up in that moment, and trusting that it's all perfect anyway. Because it has to be, because it's all source. So from my full heart to yours, I see you. I love you. We're all in this together. How beautiful. Bye.